My name's Caitlin Monaco.
My name is Darren DeLeon.
My name is Jenny Ha.
Kathleen Miao.
Wesley Wei.
Emily Ng.
Cheyenne Cheng.
And I'm a mixed race Taiwanese Filipino.
Indonesian.
Vietnamese American.
Child of refugees.
Laotian refugees.
Mixed. Second generation.
First generation Chinese American woman.
I've become very passionate and interested in storytelling. It is a privilege to be able to tell your story and to be able to hear other people's stories. So kind of giving voice to that and keeping in mind like representation and what that means.
I'm passionate about legal accessibility for Asian Americans. And this is kind of in a lot of different realms. So in the LGBTQ community, in our veterans community.
Coming here, like education policies are important to me. I went to a Title I high school in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, which is a state that's ranked one of the lowest in education. And instead of like focusing on my education, I was constantly worried about like what programs were going to get cut and how overcrowded classrooms were going to be.
I think there's one thing that's really specific about being Asian American in the United States is that there's a confusion in regards to being confusing hard work with exploitation, right? And so that's one thing that I really wanted to advocate for, is that being exploited is so different from just putting in the hard work, and recognizing those differences is something that not only just Asian Americans should learn about, but also the greater labor workers in the United States.
Growing up in the Midwest and living there for like a lot of my life, I've noticed that there's not a lot of representation, particularly within my Southeast Asian refugee community. So that's something that I really wanted to push, because a lot of people don't really realize how much help is needed in those areas.
I guess for a long time, I've been interested in healthcare broadly, but it wasn't really until the beginning of 2017, back when the refugee ban came out, the Muslim ban came out, and that was when I realized that a lot of the freedoms and protections that we always promote as having through America, we've been taking a lot of those for granted, especially me. And I've realized since then that if I want to work towards making sure that people from different vulnerable communities have the access to healthcare, access to their rights, that we promise them from the moment they get here.
I'm also passionate about what's going on in terms of the intersection of the environment, arts, and the Asian American Pacific Islander community, as well as the history of AAPI.
So I was born in the US, and then I went back home with my family, grew up in Indonesia, and came back to the United States to finish my education. So I feel like I'm in this border where I'm being an international student and also being an Asian American, to build this bridge that we need to be in solidarity between Asian international students and also Asian Americans.
Is API representation in government, mostly because we've seen a lot of API individuals in the media recently, in movies like Crazy Rich Asians, or just TV shows in general, where we have seen API individuals start to populate televisions, but we haven't seen them in places of political power where decisions are being made that affect API individuals on a daily basis. So I'm really interested in pursuing in looking into things that I can do in order to help increase the narratives that are being heard in the American government. There's so many organizations here that are capable of making change at so many different levels, and I really want to engage in this environment while I have the chance this summer.
So one thing I'm particularly passionate about within the API community is environmental justice and racism, and I would really like to educate, inform, and advocate for these communities of color.
I'm super interested in mental health, especially within the API community, because it's super stigmatized, and so I hope to work in a mental health profession in which I can help other API folks.
Within the API community, I'm most interested in mental health and access to resources. That's just because growing up, I feel like mental health wasn't really something that my family talked about a lot.
I don't think there was a specific point. I think it's just been a kind of a culmination throughout the experiences that I've had growing up with a mother who's a Taiwanese immigrant. You start to see things more and more and more as you get older and as you get integrated into different kinds of communities. So I think it's a gradual thing that's built up. But now I think is the time where I'm able to start taking action and starting to educate myself on how to do things and how to make some change.
For me, it was mainly about meeting other Asian Americans. Like I said, my community of Asian Americans growing up wasn't that diverse, and I know our community is one of the most diverse ones in the United States. So it's been really exciting to get to meet all these people who have such different backgrounds and experiences, but still have that similar core of being Asian American and having that common experience to talk about.
Definitely meeting more people. It's been really amazing, like so far meeting all the other interns and meeting some other like educators and advocates in the AAPI community through my work.
Given that I've only been in DC for 2 weeks, I look forward to not only the food, but also just getting to know my cohort because they're an amazing group, as well as other Asian American interns that are in the city for the summer.
I think I'm most excited by the people. I think a lot of it is this is an opportunity to meet so many different people from across the country, and I think that this is a very rare opportunity to have, and I'm really excited to go do it. Not just the people in our internship, but everyone else, all the different organizations here and all the reception. I know that DC has a really tight API community. I'm really excited to meet them and introduce myself.